Hello boys and girls, and welcome to lesson 2 from chapter 2, percents and fractions. Okay, this is page 101. Before we look at page 101, I also want to look at a couple of other pages before. I want to look at page 95 and 94. So let's take a look at that. Now, these pages were supposed to be done in class. This page, which is page 94, as you can see at the bottom there, we will do in class together, okay? These are the hot problems, and I want to think these out loud for you as we do them in class together. But this page was supposed to be done in class today, so if you did not get it done in class, make sure it's done for the next day. It is not homework. It was supposed to be independent work, but if you didn't get it done in class, it needs to be done, so it's kind of homework now if you didn't get it done. And I would like to specifically check the word problems, okay, as we've been trying to focus as much as we can on the word problem that you see right there, okay? Okay, for the first exercise on page 101, we're going to shade these 10 by 10 grid, okay? Now these 10 by 10 grids represent 100, right? Because when you have 10 by 10, you multiply 10 rows of 10 columns, it's going to equal 100. And we can say that's 100%, okay, of all of it. Now, we're being asked to shade 3 out of 20. Now, instead of being out of 100, it's going to be more like this, boys and girls. It's going to be like the equivalent fraction. This will be the 100 at the bottom, okay, and this will be the 3. So, what do I do here? I can make it into a unit rate where I know that 1/5, right? This is 1/5. Here I have 120 and here I have 5 20s. 120 and 5 20s, right? What do I do to this 1 to make it into 3? Yeah, I multiplied it by 3. 1 times 3 equals 3, right? Now I must do the same to the 5. And when I multiply the 5 times 3, I get 15. Okay, so really, out of 100 squares, which you see right here, 15 squares need to be colored. It's the same thing as 3 out of 320. Okay, so we have 3 out of 320. It's kind of like a ratio, 15 out of 100. So now we know we have to color 15 squares out of the 100. Another way to do it is this. We know that there are 5 of these, right? There are 5 20s in 100, so we can just break this up into 5 of them, right? And then if it's broken up like this for every 20, because here I have 10 and 10, right? So all of this is 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 20. All of it is 100. Well, I need to color 3 out of 20 each time. 3, 3. And that's how many I would have colored, but that doesn't look very pretty, right? So if we know that it's 3 for every 20, I have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. I have 15, just like the number that was written here before. I have 15 of them, so let's just put them all together, like this. And that's our answer. Now I know that it took a long time for me to get to this. A lot of you knew already how many you needed to fill. You just, whatever you do to this to make it 100, you must do to this, right? And you know that that's how many you have out of 100. It's just an equivalent fraction or a ratio. But I wanted to take the time to show all the steps. Let's try the second one, football. Okay, for football, again, we have a square out of 100, right? And our ratio is 3 out of 25. What do I do to the 25 to make it into 100? If you said multiply by 4, you are correct. So whatever we do to this, we must do to this. Because don't forget, boys and girls, when they say 3 out of 25, they're saying 3 out of 25. And if we want to make it out of 100, it's simply an equivalent fraction. Okay, whatever I do to the 25 to make it 100, I must do the same to the 3. And when I multiply the 3 times 4, I get 12. And there's my 12. Okay? Okay, I want you to try this on your own. I will be looking for it when I check your homework. Let me give you a little hint. It's 1 out of 20, right? 1 out of 20. What did I do to the 20 to make it 100? Do the same to the 1 and then color it in. And for swimming, well, there's absolutely no converting needing to be done. We have 100 squares and it's 9 out of 100. So there is your fraction. You couldn't ask for an easier question. Okay, so it's 9 out of 100. Okay, what fraction with a denominator of 100 represents the number of students who chose each sport? Now, the denominator needs to be 100 for each one, as you see right there, okay? So, let's do that now. Because we're working with percents, we want it to be out of 100. So, percent, don't forget, I explained to you guys that that sounds very much like por cien, por cada cien. So percent means out of 100. So whatever number we have on the top, it's actually going to be our percent out of 100. And for basketball, we had 15 out of 100, which we said was 3 over 20, right? For football, we had 12 out of 100, so it's 12%, which we know that it was actually 3 out of 25, right? They're both multiplied into 4. For gymnastics, we had 5 out of 100. How many 5s are in 100? Well, 20 of them. There you go. And finally for swimming, that one was the easiest one. It was given to us. It was simply 9. So as you know, as you can see, boys and girls, this is 15%, 12%, 5%, and 9%. For your key answer, here's an interesting fact. For the Olympics, this is one of the events from the Olympics, and it's called a pommel horse. And for an additional key answer, you can go ahead and draw Mariangel trying to do the pommel horse, but she didn't wait her turn. She wasn't waiting her turn. She tried to do it at the same time, and look what happened to her. Okay, for the next example 2, it looks like, we're going to turn percents into fractions in simplest form. Now don't forget that 75% means 75 over 100. 75%, por cien. 90%, okay, 90 over 100, and 38 over 100. Okay, but we're also being asked to do it in simplest form, meaning we have to reduce it to the simplest form. So this is where we have to look for the greatest common factor between 75, 100, 90, and 100, and 38, and 100. I'll start with the easiest one, right here. To me, all I have to do here is just take off the 0 and take off the 0, and I have 9/10. That cannot be reduced any further because there's no common factor between 9 and 10. Obviously besides 1, but we wouldn't do 1 because then it would just stay the same. Okay, the greatest common factor, a common factor that I find between 5 and 0 is they're both divisible by 5. So I know that I have 15 5s here and 20 5s here. I know that some of you already know the answer and you jump right to it, but I'm putting in an extra step. How many 5s do I have here and how many 5s do I have here? They're both divisible by 5 still. Well, at the top I still have 3 5s and at the bottom I have 4 5s. So my answer would be 3/4. And for C, I know that they're both even numbers. You see, 8 is even and 0, which is base 10, is even. So I can go ahead and cut both of them in half, and 38 divided by 2 is 19, and 100 divided by 2 is 50. There's no common factor between 19 and 50 because this is a prime number. So that would be your answer right there. Okay, make sure to add your answers to the right place and add a nice big smiley face right there as your key answer. Continuing on. Example 3. The table shows the percent of each movie type rented during the month, or during a month. What fraction of the rentals were action movies? So we have action, children's, comedy, drama, horror, and romance. And you see that they're all percents. They're all out of 100. And they're asking you which one were action movies. Action movie was 35%. 35%. 35 out of 100. Now we have to simplify this. And I know that they're both divisible by 5. Here I have 7 5s, and here I have 20 5s. And there you have it. That is your answer. Let's do this one. Write the fraction of rentals that were horror movies. Horror movies is 5%. 5 out of 100. Go ahead and write 5 out of 100, but in the simplified form, and I want this simplified answer right there. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You should be able to do it by now, but I do want you to also draw this pretty flower there. Okay, but I will be looking for this answer. If you don't know it, please ask me in class. Okay, now we're writing fractions as percents. We're going the other way. We went from percent to fractions. Now we're going to go from fractions to percent. Here we're given an example of 6/8. Now this is a good little skill to learn right here. Simplify it, boys and girls. Instead of going up to 100, simplify. And that many of you already know that 3/4 is 75%. You already know that because you know that there are 4 25s in 100, and then 3 25s would be 75. Okay, and you see it right there. Let's try to do this one together. Write the fraction 9/12 as a percent. Okay, so we start with 9/12, and if we simplify it, we know that there are 3 3's there. The greatest common factor between the two is 3. So I divide them both by 3, and I get 3 on the top, and I get 4 on the bottom, because there are 4 3's right here, and there are 3 3's there. Now I have 75%, or as you can see it here actually, we have 3/4. If I zoom in, okay, you will see that I have 1, 2, 3 out of 4. 1, 2, 3 out of 4. So I have 3 out of an entire 4. See that? So 3 out of 4 is what we just mentioned as 100 at the bottom, 75 at the top. If you were to try to make it out of 100, you'd have to multiply each by 25, and now you have 75 out of 100, which is 75%. If you feel like I'm going a little bit too fast for you, you can always re-watch this. Pause and rewind and re-watch it. But for many of you, this is just a review. Okay, you have done this and you have mastered this before. Continuing on. Okay, and finally example 5. Example 5 on page 104. You can see that we're given a fraction here of 12/40, right? And then we're told to simplify it, we just have to find the greatest common factor and divide the numerator and the denominator by 4, which is the greatest common factor of 12 and 40. Okay, and we simplify it to 3 and 10, which is 30/100. As you can see right there, we just add a 0 to each one or just multiply it by 10. Using that same skill, let's answer question F. Alana spelled 19 out of 25 words correctly. What percent of the words did Alana spell correctly? Well, boys and girls, another equivalent fraction. We have 19 out of 25. Well, we want to make it a percent, so we have to make it out of 100. What did I do to the 25 to make it 100? Times 4. So let's multiply the 19 times 4. If you have a hard time multiplying 19 times 4, just simply multiply 20 times 4, and we know that's 80. And now take away one of the 4's because there's only 19 of them. Okay, and you should get 76. And there you go. It's 76%. Okay, add your answer right there, and now let's put a nice star right there as a key answer. And for the guided practice, we will do this in class as our warm-up, okay? Just to do a little fresher upper in the first thing in the morning. But I do want you to do the independent practice on your own. So that is all of page 105, okay?